Afternoon! Hey, happy Thursday, everybody. It is Super Week, but as Jeff Rust kicked off his Sports Center update, the trade deadline expired. And the Blazers made a move. We'll get to this.
10 seconds remaining.
We'll get to this very quickly, and then we'll revisit it at 12:15 because it's the move of the day, folks. Biggest move in basketball.
Wah, 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 wah.
The Portland Trailblazers have dealt a heavily protected second-round pick, which should tell you the value of the player in return, for Delano Banton, a 6'8" guard.
He's not
Out of
6'3".
Nebraska.
He's not 6'3".
He comes via the Boston Celtics, where he was averaging a sultry 2.3 points per game on 7 minutes per game, shooting 12.5% from three and 37% from the field. Yeah, he's not 6'3". He's 6'8". And that's Blazers trade deadline.
There you go.
Like, very seldomly, Danny, is there an NBA move, especially one involving the Portland Trailblazers, where you have no real knowledge or opinion on the player?
I mean, I know he has played for the Raptors and Celtics, but beyond that, I knew he's a bigger guard, but I'm looking at this.
You should not know who Delano Banton is.
I'm a sicko. This does get them up to their required level of players.
Oh, okay.
So basically,
and that's the Blazers trade deadline.
I would imagine the pick that they traded is probably very similar to the pick that they traded for Maurice Harkless years ago, which is a top 55 protected second-round pick, which is the least that you can send for somebody. It is the equivalent of a used ball rack.
Okay.
It is just to get a transaction done.
Getting transactions done.
It is a pick that may never convey.
Okay, well, how about this? How many wins do they project with Banton
With
at
Banton
the four?
Yeah. Probably, what are they at right now? 15? Probably 15.
All right, well, hey.
And they basically took a flyer. All this is a flyer on a guy.
Why not?
Which,
You got a roster spot.
this is what you should be doing.
Go ahead.
Take flyers on guys and see what happens.
Hopefully he shoots better than 12% from three.
Indeed.
Hopefully. All right. Outside of that, we got a ton coming up today. We have a ton of NBA trade deadline news because there were a lot of moves, mostly around the margins. We'll discuss those. There are a couple teams that did bolster their rosters. Damian Lillard has a familiar foe who is now a teammate of his. I'm going to love to see Pat Beverly and Damian Lillard paired up on the same
I've got to
team together.
grab the sound and send it to Russ so we can play it later. But Pat Bev has already addressed that on his podcast. He went live after he got traded.
Okay.
Because he did not expect to get traded. He tweeted out Cold World.
He never does.
Yeah, it's true.
He never does.
But he said he needs to get his relationship with Dame right.
But he's only played for 17 teams or so far, right?
The list is long. It ain't a short one. Look, I hate Pat
Jim
Bev,
Jackson's like, boy, he's played on a lot of teams.
right?
Steve Smith. Steve Smith played for a lot of teams. How many did Steve Smith play for? Go ahead.
Well, decent amount. I believe the record is Ish.
Yeah.
Ish Smith, I think, is at 16. Ish, and the thing is, you won't find a single person in the NBA to say a single bad thing about Ish.
Well, yeah.
It's like the nicest guy that has ever played in
It's
the
like
league.
6 teams for old Steve Smith there.
Oh, hey,
That's a
look
fair
at
amount of
that.
teams.
That's a good. That's
Atlanta,
a good,
Miami, Portland, San Antonio, New Orleans Hornets, and, Charlotte. Okay, so 5 teams, I guess.
Okay,
So I was right. It's at 16. Look for Dusty. You can see all of the jerseys
that's beautiful.
on Basketball Reference for the team that he has played for. He's played for more than half the league.
That would be one hell of a run. Like, just think of that. Like, you never think of how many teams he's played for. He's been in the league since 2010, Ish Smith.
So 14 years. He's played
on
16 teams.
16 teams. You think about setting down roots or getting comfortable somewhere? Nope. Because he's been sent all over too. Houston, Memphis, Golden State, Orlando, Milwaukee, Phoenix, Oklahoma City, Philadelphia, New Orleans, Detroit, Washington, Charlotte, and Denver, and then back to Charlotte.
He's been back
What
to
a
Charlotte
trip.
twice.
And also,
What a trip.
12 teams for Blazer legend Jim Jackson.
Yeah.
All right, Jim Jackson.
The best dressed man in basketball.
Ish Smith. You know, his nickname should be trade bait. I think that if you play for 16 teams, your nickname should be trade bait.
What's funny is under the Basketball Reference nicknames, Ish is his listed nickname.
I would say
Ish
yeah,
is his
because
listed name.
Well, it's Ishmael,
I
but
know,
he goes by Ish.
But I'm saying the actual listed name for him is Ish,
and then
his nickname is
Ish. Well, whatever.
He's trade bait Ish.
That's good.
My
Ooh.
name's Jeff. People call me Jeff.
My name is Jeff.
It's my nickname.
Jeffish.
Jeffish sounds like something that you catch in a swamp.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, we're going out there. We're see if we can catch some Jeffish.
I was thinking that it's like a derogatory term. He's kind of Jeffish.
That
you know?
works too.
I mean, can't trust that guy. He's a little Jeffish.
Well, screw you guys. I'm going home.
Says the guy wearing a shirt that's quite literally across your chest says, "I'm just here to embarrass my wife."
Yes.
I mean, kind of fits. Kind of fits. Mandy probably is saying, yeah, it's a little Jeffish today.
It'll happen.
Trade deadline day. Also, Super Bowl week. We've got a lot that we've got to get to regarding the Super Bowl. Today is our Propapalooza.
So many props.
If you got great prop bets that you want in on, text us. The Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them online at vancouverford.com. I got a couple fun ones, but then I got a couple that are moneymakers for you. If you feel strongly on one side or the other, we can do this. We can do this.
I like it.
Yeah, because the props are always fun. It's one of the great things that about the Super Bowl is that they just inundate you with prop bets, and I'm here for all of it. Did you see that it's up 6%, the expected viewership of this Super Bowl between for folks between 18 and 34 years old in the United States of America because of the Taylor Swift factor?
Yeah. That's insane. And that is why it was like, why is the NFL leaning into it? That's why, because they have measurables from their regular season games, what games Taylor Swift was at, that they can quite literally sell.
Yeah.
And they did.
Yeah.
A 7% increase is insane.
Yeah. Well, it's 6% for
6%.
18 to 34 year olds.
But that which is the demo that they cherish the most.
Yeah. But 41% of 18 to 34 year olds say the presence of Taylor Swift is influencing their decision to watch the Super Bowl. 41% say it's either them or somebody in their house. So it's like, if they were to ask me that question, I'd be like, yeah, my daughter, she's going to watch that Super Bowl, even though I don't fit that demographic anymore. But it'd be like, my daughter's, and she was hooked on opening night because they had like a Taylor Swift, questions package that they rolled out there. And she was like, that is the,
and this is why the NFL is king.
And it is, 7% of people 55 and older are saying they're influenced by Taylor Swift in her involvement in the game. That is quite the discrepancy there. 41% of people 18 to 34, just 7% of the 55s. She's not for the olds.
No, but
she's
the
not
fact
for the
that
olds.
she's bringing in any,
it's huge.
And that's the thing, is that she's the. I hate saying globally because it's hard to measure this stuff, but I think if you throw it up against the wall, it probably sticks. She's probably the most influential person in marketing right now.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, there might be a K-pop band based on like raw numbers, but Swift globally, her reach is probably the best.
They're saying this year's Super Bowl, 52% of all Americans will be watching Super Bowl 58.
So that's 165 million.
That is up from 47% last year, 46% in 2022 and 2021. It's a big jump. But this also is before Taylor Swift started dating Travis Kelce. What were we hearing? Like in September, numbers are back to pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
They're through the roof. All of those people that said, I'm never watching football again because of
Sports
the
in
national anthem
general.
protests,
Yeah.
they're back.
Yeah.
Now those people are all angry about, I'm not watching because of Taylor Swift on the screen. Yeah, you are.
Yeah, you are.
You're still going to watch, and you will come back because you love football.
Yes. And not just
fact.
that, there has been some restoration in that, and you're seeing, weirdly enough, a reinvestment by media companies back into sports again. That fear seems to have lifted, and you're seeing Fox, ESPN, Warner Brothers, Amazon, Apple, everyone starting to put money back into this. And I think they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, I just think people like football too. And I mean, a lot of that is, though, the fears of going into a full-on recession are now subsiding,
Yeah.
and that's where money's starting to come back.
I mean,
in.
yeah, you're getting out of that.
That's a huge part of it. And live sports are really in
King.
live programming. They're the only ways that you get people to watch, but live sports are king. And that's why I think you're going to start seeing the same thing for the NBA, which is great because they're in negotiations for a new TV deal. And it's
What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
That's right
When you're
there.
talking about TV deals.
and we have our new cable. The bundle that has been introduced this week.
Silicon Valley discovered cable. Congratulations.
We have a question on the Vancouver Ford text line. What is Ish Smith's career earnings? Ish Smith has made $45,206,480. I would move that much for that much money as well. I would do that. I would do that.
Yeah.
That'd be worth it for me.
I've moved a lot more for a lot less. A whole lot less.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Well, I would move and play for all of those teams for that amount of money.
And he doesn't really even play that much,
No, he doesn't. That's a good living.
right?
But here's the thing about that. 35 years old. Career averages for Ish Smith. Let's look at his career averages.
Not a ton. Also, a body not beat up.
Well, because you have to play minutes for that.
Yeah.
Career averages for Ish Smith. Oh boy, I hate when Basketball Reference does this because then you have to do all this crap where just give me the they just give me totals. What are his points per game? Can you find that? Can you find that for me really
Ish?
quick? Yeah.
Yeah. Give me
Yeah.
1 sec.
All I got is his total points here, and you have to go through is per 100 possessions per 36 minutes. All I
Ish-
want is his points per game.
Ish points per game is 7.1.
7 points per game.
7 points, 4 assists.
Averaging 32.5% shooting from three and 43% from the field in his career.
Like I said, it's a great living if you can find it.
Hell yeah, it is. That's an awesome living. Go ahead and do it. But it goes back to if you are likable,
It pays to be likable, man.
if you're likable and you can fit in a locker room, 7 points, 3.8 assists, 0.7 steals,
Poor shooting.
2 rebounds in sub Mendoza line shooting, you can stick around and play for 16 teams in the NBA.
But if you can run an offense and
you can-
everybody likes you,
you can be tradish.
it's great.
You can be tradish.
Look, it's a great spot to be, man. Somebody's got to fill that hole.
One paying attention. I'll make sure he gets it. It's 12:15 on the dot. All right. Let's get to it. Where we started this show is where we got to jump right in. The NBA's trade deadline has come and gone. A lot of activity, but not so much in Rip City. One move made. Get your Banton jerseys ready. Danny and Dusty on the Fan. Scooby-Doo this thing. We're going to go on the way back. Remember Joe Cronin last year.
You won't see from this group a lack of trying or a lack of innovation or a lack of creativity. We're going to be ridiculously aggressive to the point where once we push our chips all the way in, like deal to deal, you might look and say, wow, they lost that deal. They gave a lot for that guy. But no, that's just us pushing our chips in. We feel extremely obligated to put a great roster around Damian Lillard. And when I say we, that's from the top. Jody and I have had a lot of conversations about how important it is for us to do right by Damian.
Well, he's gone, and the Blazers' big aggressive move is Delano Banton.
Yeah, this is just a move to get to 14.
Oh, yeah, you need to have 14 guys on your roster.
Guys, yes. So they floated the 10 days with Taze Moore. So
Okay.
now that they're at 14, the question I think that at least I had going into this was, would they get out of the deadline with 13? And if so, who would they convert from their two-way guys? Would Baji be converted? Would Reith be converted? And I think the Blazers, if not both, will convert probably one between now and the end of the year, perhaps. But I would imagine this summer, one of them is 100% going to get a full NBA deal, for sure.
Got to do it. Is it going to be the 27-year-old rookie or
28-year-old.
28-year-old rookie?
Wap is 28 now. Look, for what it's worth, Wap is just a good backup big. Like he just is, and I don't think he's going to have a shortage of suitors this summer. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see if the Blazers are able to convert him now and kind of keep him in house, or have to kind of fight to retain his services.
Ashton Hagans has been signed to a 10-day contract as well
There you go.
by the Blazers.
I would imagine
he's a remix guy.
I would imagine they're doing that to float some bodies at the guard spot. Because they'd already signed Taze Moore. They didn't want to do it again because of Shaedon Sharpe's injury. It's a break glass in case of emergency ball handler.
I feel like the way this happened was they were nearing the deadline. Cronin was like, we need to get to 14. We're not really comfortable with converting those two ways, like you said right now. He called Brad Stevens like, dude, I gave you Drew Holiday. You're the best team in the East. I need a player.
It's also probably I need to look at
Banton isn't getting minutes. He won't get minutes in Boston. And so you send a heavily protected second-round pick, which is 55 or worse. So you called it the Mo Harkless special, and I love that.
That's what Marcos was traded for.
That's it.
That's what the Blazers traded to the Orlando Magic to get him. And was that 2015, 2016?
And here's the bigger picture here, and what the Portland Trail Blazers did, I think, is it needs to be discussed, because Banton is not going to be a guy that he doesn't blow anybody's hair back. He's not going to be a difference maker on this team or take them to a height that the Blazers aren't expecting to get to this season anyways. That's what we should have expected at the deadline. Moves along the margins, moves along the periphery, because was there anybody traded today that would change the future of the Portland Trail Blazers moving forward?
No.
I mean, that's across the league. Whether you want to say Buddy Hield, but what do you want?
PJ Washington, if you squint.
If you squint, maybe are you going to go trade Daniel Gafford for Daniel Gafford and have a backup center who's been starting somewhere else?
Yeah.
No.
Again, Gafford, a player that I like, but
he's a good player, but you've got DeAndre Ayton, he's a starting center. They need front court help.
You've got Wap. You've got Baji. Look, is Gafford better than those guys? Yes.
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is. But
yes, he is.
The money situation, fit situation, like what you would have to give up to make something work there and stay under the tax. And people say, well, why you have to be under the tax to spend money? It's like, look, the reality of this is not a unique to Portland situation. If you're a rebuilding team, if you're a retooling team and you are in the tax, you are being dumb.
Yes.
It's not even like a money situation. It's you're limiting the things that you can do transactionally. And if you're going to do that, that's operational malfeasance, which, my God, the Detroit Pistons are.
Yes, they are.
The Pistons are a complete S show, and we'll talk about them as we kind of progress through this. But as far as the Blazers go, I was surprised they made a transaction.
But it was only to get the 14th player on the roster.
A flyer on a 6'8" guard. Again,
And you
prioritizing some size and taking a flyer on somebody. You're still under because they don't want to say they were like $5 million under the tax threshold, and his guarantee for the rest of the year is I think $2 million. So they don't mess anything with that. It probably saves Boston a crap ton of money. It probably saves them $10-ish million, $8 to $10 million, because they're way above the tax threshold after they went and made the moves for Porzingis and Drew Holiday.
But if we're being honest with ourselves and with the Blazers, all right, let's look at the guys that were dealt at the deadline.
The biggest names that were dealt.
Well, you did that would help Portland. I think you said PJ Washington. That would be a guy that you go 25 years old. He's got 3 years remaining on his deal. I think that would have been it. But they also gave up Grant Williams, Seth Curry, and a 2027 first-round pick.
That first-round pick is probably the most valuable thing that changed hands this deadline.
And why would you give up that for a guy who's got 3 years and you're not in a win-now window?
Yeah.
Look at what Dallas has. Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic. They need to win, and they need to win now.
And they need to prove to Luka that they will do whatever it takes to keep trying. And they tried this before by giving up a swap and going and getting Grant Williams, who, God, that deal blew up in their face quick.
You wouldn't want to go out and get like Daniel House like the Detroit Pistons did, which was to be determined draft compensation.
Also, he's been released, or he's been
30 years old. That was a luxury tax move, but none of those other moves really made sense. Marcus Morris, old, don't want him, doesn't fit timeline, doesn't really change what you do. Like none of these things, none of these guys. So if you were Portland, look at what was out there, not much, and really all the moves that were made, with the exception of the PJ Washington one and maybe the Gordon Hayward one.
It's the shuffling of deck chairs.
They were to get other teams under the luxury tax and moves on the margins, moves on the periphery. Teams that are rebuilding.
It was getting their books right. That's really what it was.
Teams, and that's what Portland did with getting the 14th player, is essentially you just said, all right.
And the Pistons decided after investing 1,000 minutes into Killian Hayes and keeping Jaden Ivey off the floor that they are just going to outright waive Killian Hayes. Which,
question.
Yikes.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Who the hell plays tonight for the Detroit Pistons?
That was the next thing I was going to look at.
They are in Portland tonight, and they traded 4 guys.
Mm-hmm. And they traded guys yesterday too.
Well, I think with yesterday's moves, they traded 4 guys. Anybody that they traded for yesterday or today, obviously not going to be in the lineup tonight.
I mean,
the guys that they did trade,
if they passed a physical, they could go tonight.
I think I saw Casey Holdahl earlier say that the Pistons have 9 guys and 2 two-way guys.
You know what? I'm going to this game. Me and my buddy Matt are going to this game. By the way, Cade Cunningham is day to day.
Hey, look,
you get Jaden Ivey, Stuart Thompson.
Did you see what the Pistons did last night?
No,
they absolutely blew the doors off the Kings in the fourth quarter.
I actually did see that.
Jaden Ivey had 19 in the fourth.
Their 7th win of the year.
Yeah.
You are going to get, and that's the thing.
You might get the inspired young kids tonight.
You just get kids for 48 minutes. Yeah. And I'm actually excited to go to this game now.
I'm bummed that Cade's not going to play because, they only come once a year. And last year he was hurt. So that's right. Yeah, that's right.
I just want that one to sneak up on people
I'm
there.
bummed Cade's not playing.
But they will not have Isaiah Stewart. Quentin Grimes, who they acquired, obviously not going to play.
Arcidiacono might hop on
Brown.
a plane and be back in Portland again.
Former Blazer great.
And continue to not score at all this season.
20 straight games without scoring.
What an amazing stat line.
Look, if you saw
NBA record.
If you saw the scars on his back from his back surgery, you'd be like, how are you walking, let alone playing in NBA games?
Carrying Villanova.
Right? He was a vibes guy there. That's what he was. And I mean, Arch is a great dude.
He's awesome.
It's up there with the Ish Smith All-Stars.
Handsome man.
Mm-hmm.
Handsome man, too.
Cash that check. Lovely hair.
Yeah.
Lovely hair.
I don't think he's going to like Detroit.
I don't think so either.
Actually, Detroit's on the come up. They've done a decent job with the city of Detroit.
They will tell you this.
They've cleaned it up.
The best media room food in sports.
Is it Little Caesars?
They have Little
Pizza,
Caesars,
pizza.
but they
Crazy
also have a ordered to go grill.
Oh, look at that.
it's-
Wow.
Yeah, they take care of you there.
For all 8 people going to cover those games.
Nah,
for the
man,
Pistons.
people make that trip because it's on the way to Chicago or
Keep that
Cleveland
money.
or literally anywhere else.
All right, let's talk about the other moves. The Blazers, are you disappointed with the lack of activity, not just today, but leading up to this deadline by Portland? And what the rest of the Portland or what the rest of the NBA did. A lot of moves, none of them really game changers, but who improved the most? Danny and Dusty. Here's Rust with SportsCenter.
It's a Super Week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by George McCoy at Warren Allen, attorneys at law.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by LaRogue Brothers Jewelers. Guys, score big with extra savings before the big game at LaRogue's this Sunday from 11 to 3. LaRogue.com. First on the Fan, the Trailblazers begin a 7-game homestand tonight, hosting the league worst Pistons. DeAndre Ayton, Scoot Henderson, both questionable. Jeremy Grant, excuse me, and Jabari Walker are probable. 7 o'clock tip on Root Sports. The Blazers are 6.5-point favorites. A flurry of trades this morning ahead of today's trade deadline, and the Blazers certainly did one of them, sending a top 55 protected 2027 second rounder to the Celtics for Delano Banton. Pacers sending Buddy Hield to the 76ers for Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, and 3 second-round picks. The Spurs trading Doug McDermott to the Pacers for Marcus Morris, a second rounder, and cash. The Jazz sending Kelly Olynyk and Ochai Agbaji to the Raptors for Otto Porter Jr., Kira Lewis, and a first-round pick. Hornets sending Gordon Hayward to the Thunder for Trey Mann, Davis Bertans, Vasilije Micic, and 2 second-round picks. Pistons trading Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks to the Knicks for Quentin Grimes, Malachi Flynn, Evan Fournier, Ryan and Archie Diacono, and 2 second-rounders. Wizards nearing a trade to send Daniel Gafford to the Mavericks for Rashawn Holmes and draft compensation. The Raptors trading Dennis Schroeder and Thaddeus Young to the Nets for Spencer Dinwiddie, who is likely to be waived. The Hornets finalizing a deal to send P.J. Washington to the Mavericks for Grant Williams, Seth Curry, and a lightly protected 2027 first-round pick. The Nets sending Royce O'Neal to the Suns for salaries and 3 second-round picks. The Suns and Grizzlies will swap picks as David Roddy heads to Phoenix and Yuta Watanabe to Memphis. 76ers trading Patrick Beverley to the Bucks for campaign and a second-rounder. Bucks sending Robin Lopez to the Kings, where he's expected to be waived. And the Warriors trading Corey Joseph and cash to the Pacers for a second-round pick. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager on all the pro football playoff action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
This is your home for year-round NFL coverage. The Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
do you feel about this Blazers lack of action at the deadline?
Expected.
The way I look at it, there was nothing they were going to do at the deadline. Look at the moves that were made around the league. There was nothing that they were going to do that would have made them better, either really and truthfully this year or in the near future.
And it's not about better. It's about making more sense going forward. And I think that's always got to be the goal. And for everybody's like, they have to trade Malcolm Brogdon. How dare they not have Malcolm Brogdon?
Your angry pounding on the desk just
broke your mic.
Broke my microphone.
I wasn't even pounding that hard. That was kind of impressive.
We know what that. Yeah, go ahead. Do that.
Yeah.
Yep. You were saying?
God, I just let him go, don't I? It's unfortunate. But the transactional stuff of like, shout out Eric Gunderson, who's like, thank God we don't have to hear about Quentin Grimes being a Trailblazer anymore, because I was like, Quentin Grimes wasn't this like can't miss thing. The Knicks have been shopping him since the beginning of the season. This FOMO over like trade slop is just one of those things that I'm just like, guys, it's okay. Like Quentin Grimes is not playing on his own team because he's lesser Josh Hart. The Knicks are like, we have Josh Hart at home, and they had the better version of him. Like he's a 6'4" guard who's kind of a forward who can kind of shoot, who does some other stuff and is a solid defender. But it's like, we just got done doing the Josh Hart experience, and we loved Josh here. But what was the issue? You couldn't play him alongside a smaller guard, and that was a Hall of Famer. So you want Quentin Grimes to balance out alongside Scoot Henderson? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
I think there's a frustration with fans, though, that see continually guys like Danny Ainge who will revamp their roster time and time again. You and I were talking about this in the break. Like, Ochai Agbaji goes and they trade him 2 years after drafting him.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, Och was a guy who came over in the Markkanen deal.
And
you look at, like, that part of it, and they're just like, And Och is a guy who... he's basically a finished product, but he's just a reliable, solid NBA player. And the Jazz are like, cool, reliable, solid NBA players are fine. But we'd rather have the mystery box. And that's how Danny Ainge operates, is like, we like mystery boxes.
And they got a 2024 first round pick that is the least favorable of the Oklahoma City, Clippers, Houston, and Utah picks.
Which you're talking about a pick that's going to be 20.
Wait, and Utah in their own pick? The least favorable of their own pick?
Yeah, I think theirs got put in another deal.
So wait.
I think this is for Derek Favors.
What if their pick is the least favorable?
Well, then
they just
they'd have a
traded
lotto
for
pick.
their own pick back?
Yeah, so they gave up Och for a lotto pick, but that's what won't happen.
Well, no, the least favorable would mean that it'd be non-lottery.
That's what I'm saying. It's saying if theirs was the least favorable, it would be a lotto pick, but it's because they're bad. That's what I'm saying. But I believe that pick itself originated from the Derek Favors buyout deal, or as part of the package they sent to get off his money to the Thunder, which, again, Sam Presti, that's what he did. But yeah, like, Ochai Agbaji is not Malcolm Brogdon. Those are two very different players and two very different values in the league. And look, for all of the, the Blazers, if Quentin Grimes is on the table, they should take it. No, they shouldn't have. And not in my opinion. I think that there's a better option this summer. Is there a risk in doing that because of the market shifting? Yes. But everything that happened really today was in line with what I heard for weeks and we have talked about for so long, in that it was shuffling of deck chairs and nothing serious happened because all of the big transactions are slated to happen this summer.
And to reframe what we've been talking about leading up to this and the important things that you need to note, this offseason, League New Year starts, new CBA is in place. It is more punitive towards teams that are in the luxury tax and over the luxury tax threshold. So what you saw was a lot of teams. Philadelphia did this today, and with their Daniel House trade to the Detroit Pistons, they made that move to clear $8.3 million to avoid being in the apron so they don't get hit with the big luxury tax. A lot of what the moves were made today was to do that. Is Portland in that problem? Do they have that problem? No. Were they going to get a piece that makes them better from another team? Because think about that. The teams that are doing this are the contenders.
Yep.
What Philly gave up was Daniel House. Okay?
Jaden Springer and Pat Bev.
Those are the types of play, but they ended up bringing in a Buddy Hield.
Sure.
But they sent out
Marcus Morris.
3 basically for 1.
Cork Maz.
And so they were saying, all right, if we want to go ahead and bring in a guy like a Buddy Hield, but we don't want to be absolutely bludgeoned by the new CBA when it kicks in, well, guess what we're going to have to do?
Package up some contracts with some players. And Cork Maz is a guy who, hilariously, has requested a trade, I think, 2 times publicly over the last 2 years. Furkan Korkmaz is the level of player that I want asking for trades publicly.
That's what I'm talking about.
You were just waiting to see how I said Furkan, huh?
Sounds like a curse word.
He's awesome.
Frickin' Korkmaz.
It does. It's great. Quit Furkan around.
Yeah. Yeah. His basketball reference nickname should be Awesome. Furkan Awesome Korkmaz. Yeah. But these are where a lot of these trades lived and why teams were operating this way, why it was not as active.
Oh, his official nicknames? We have to derail for a second.
Yeah.
Furky, Turkish Delight, and Goat Maz. God, I love basketball reference.
Those are all horrible
They're
for that guy.
so terrible, but they're so great.
Turkish Delight.
Turkish
I like
Delight's
that.
a great one.
I like that.
I like that one.
But I think that there really are, I think 2 teams did get better. I think one, you can make the case if they get healthy, got better. I think Dallas, with the addition of PJ Washington, I think that they get better. And I think that they are feeling that pressure and feeling that heat, which they are in a window. You go and you make a move. They had to give up a first-round pick for that. Go ahead. And here's the other thing. We've been framing all of this trade deadline talk with this too. Do the Blazers want to pick up more draft picks? No, they don't. Because how many guys do they have in their first or second year on their roster in the
9.
NBA? 9.
And they have their own draft pick, the draft pick from the Golden State Warriors, and their second this year.
They're looking for vets, guys in the front court.
And by veterans, not 30-year-old veterans, they want 23 to 26-year-old. Like, they don't want kids.
Guys who have been in the league for 3 to 4 years.
On their second contract
5
is
years.
basically what they're looking at. Like, they past the early development cycle.
And what happens is, and we know this, especially with how everybody reshuffled those deck chairs, right? What we see is teams are going to say, we make the run now. We are okay in the cap heading into the new league year. Malcolm Brogdon has a $22.5 million expiring deal next year. That becomes attractive. This is where you go. This is, if you are begging for picks, you're not ready for the rebuild and you weren't ready for the rebuild.
That's the thing is, remember I kind of joked, like, this fan base isn't ready for this. You're not
ready for this in-season trade deadline, there was nothing that they were going to do that changed their future. Now, I will say, just as I said about last year, they made the Dame move and they said, reset, we're going nuclear. This offseason is where you need to start making those moves to get those vets in, because then at that point, this is year 3. This is real. It truly is year 3. We've shut Dame down 2 years in a row. This year is full on rebuild mode with new, fresh, clean slate. Next year, you are going to be entering year 4, essentially. You need to start making moves that make sense for winning basketball games. And that is where I'm sitting right now, is like starting to get a little antsy, but this wasn't the deadline that they were going to exponentially improve.
First time you're going to really see the impact of stuff. And if they come out of this summer without making some impact moves or things that kind of help push the mine cart a little bit, down the tracks, then I'm going to start raising eyebrows. We do have a little bit of news. Scoot Henderson and DeAndre Ayton have both been added to today's injury report against the Detroit Pistons.
Great.
Scoot Henderson has a foot contusion. That would explain, if you missed it, Ashton Hagans from the Rip City Remix was called up on a 10-day contract. He's the starting point guard for the Remix. He was not needed to get to the minimum roster requirement. He was called up because Scoot Henderson might not play tonight, and without Shaden Sharp, you need an additional ball handler now.
Okay.
So, yay.
All right.
So the game of who is and who isn't available tonight against the Detroit Pistons is a fun one. Jeremy Grant also listed on the injury report, but he is probable. So there's a little bit of a change there with his back. So little mild updates, news, notes,
All right.
as it were, for any of those heading to the game tonight.
Well, you got Dallas, they improved. Milwaukee, I think they did improve as well.
I think they helped themselves by adding Pat Bev.
Pat Beverly in the backcourt. They did deal Robin Lopez, who is promptly going to be bought out by the Sacramento Kings.
There's a
and enter the
lot
free
of
agent
vets on the
market.
buyout market. Spencer Dinwiddie, after being traded from the Nets to the Raptors, is being bought out. It is thought that the Lakers are going to pursue him, which...
And then,
Okay.
good luck, Lakers. The Lakers really are poorly run, and we don't talk about that. And when LeBron leaves next year, they're going to be a mess.
But they're the Lakers, and they'll stumble face first into another generational star because that's what they do.
Oh God, people need to stop that.
Well-
and then there's one team that if they get healthy and get right, I think the 76ers, if you do get Joel Embiid at the end of the year, Buddy Hield, he adds a lot, man. He adds a lot to. He's a guy that you cannot leave anywhere on the perimeter, and that they got a dead eye shooter. So, but it all hinges on Embiid getting healthy, because if Embiid's not healthy,
It doesn't mean anything.
it means nothing.
They tried to do enough to try to support the Undercroft, as it were, before Joel comes back.
All right, we will get to a little bit later in the show. Damian Lillard needs to make friends real quick, and it appears that they already have. But coming up next, if somehow, some way, Jackson Smith in Jigba's career gets derailed as a receiver, he's going to make a mighty fine bus driver. Next on The Fan. Super Bowl week is where all players, media, everybody in the NFL orbit comes together. And right now they're all in Las Vegas, Nevada. And every year there's one player that makes headlines for stepping in it one way or the other. Luckily for Seahawk fans, it is not legally. And luckily for Seahawk fans, it is not with a coach currently on his staff.
Yeah.
But Jackson Smith-Njigba has driven the bus right over his former offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, during an interview on Radio Row during Super Bowl week.
Bears fans are super interested about the offensive coordinator coming in, Shane Waldron. What can you tell them about who they just hired to try to get this offense where it needs to go?
This is live?
Yeah. We're not live. We're not live.
I'm playing. Good luck to y'all. I mean, he's a great person.
What makes it better is the look on his face is exactly what you're saying. His eyes are as big as saucers. And he's like, good luck.
He went on a little bit further to say, like, he'll work well with Justin Fields and they'll be good. Jackson Smith-Njigba, no fan of Shane Waldron. He is not a fan of Shane Waldron whatsoever. And that was abundantly clear.
Where did he go to school?
Ohio State.
Who did he play with?
CJ Stroud.
Okay. Just kind of wondering, Ohio State quarterbacks and how those things will work for things and which quarterback's actually going to be, who he's actually going to be useful for. If he couldn't work with a guy like Njigba, who has worked with good quarterbacks, struggling to see how Waldron's going to work with a guy who's wildly inconsistent.
I don't know. I am really... I'm trying to find out I really do wonder what his issue with Shane Waldron was, because it's obviously not just starting with he had 1 year with him and they started getting him going as the season was going on. This has got to be what he's heard from his vets in planting the seed from DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and what those guys actually thought of Shane Waldron as a play caller, because after 1 year in the league, he's just going to be like, I'm going to go off of what these vets are saying. And when Pete Carroll moves on and Shane Waldron leaves, it's probably been hallelujah from DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, but you don't know who's going to be your OC coming back. And I mean, it's not like Smith-Njigba had a terrible year.
No, but I wonder if like you talk about with the vets of the locker room. I mean, DK did have a down year. And there was plenty of frustrations there. And
of course, he's a diva receiver.
He is. I mean, it's one and the same.
Yeah, but no, they're not one and the same. He is a diva receiver. Like, he is a wide receiver that he is the powder. He is the guy that give all the other receivers the diva receiver label. That's DK Metcalf, because he's vocal about it. He is boisterous about it. And he lets everybody know that wants to listen. There is a big difference between him and every other receiver in the league. There's very few guys like DK Metcalf in the way he operates in his...
Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs. I think of the great receivers in the NFL, Chase is probably the only one who's not. And even then, he was saying, throw me the damn ball and I'm always open.
Well, yeah, because they are.
But to my point, like, I feel like most of the wide receivers, Mike Evans is probably the only guy of the great wide receivers who's not that.
Any of the 49ers?
I'd say Debo's up there.
When?
What do you mean when?
When has he been like that?
Ayuk was like that all year last year.
No.
Yes. Remember there was a whole thing to start the season between him and Shanahan.
No. Their frustrations and being a diva are two completely different things.
But most
completely different
most of these guys are.
But every single player in the NFL is like that. Every single player in the NFL.
But you're right when you say DK is on another level. He is on the Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs level.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Hey, Stephon Diggs may be on his own planet in that regard, because Stephon Diggs can get more targets than anybody else in the NFL.
Still complain.
And he will 100% complain at all times.
But I think to Njigba's point here, or at least the discussion about this, is it's at least interesting that he felt comfortable enough to throw him under the bus.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that leads me to believe that it's more than just like, I don't really have an opinion on this, but here's a little something.
Jackson Smith and Jigba had 90 targets in his rookie year.
How many catches?
63.
That's not bad.
Yeah, 63 catches on 90 targets. It's the seventh most targets of any rookie in the NFL.
So it makes you wonder if it was less about maybe some play calling and more about just not liking him.
I think that may be it, because I mean, you think of all the rookies. So the guys that were ahead of him, Puka Nacua, obviously number one.
And Njigba missed a little bit of time too, didn't he?
He played in 17 games.
Okay.
You had, but they took a long time to get.
Maybe that's what it was. It just took him a couple of games to kind of get him fine. And
Puka Nacua with 163, and he was the go-to because Cooper Kupp was injured at the beginning of the year. Rashee Rice, who was the go-to receiver of the Kansas City Chiefs this year.
And Patrick Mahomes.
Zay Flowers in Baltimore, who was the go-to receiver, especially when Mark Andrews went out. Jordan Addison, who was the go-to receiver once Justin Jefferson got hurt. Jaden Reed in Green Bay. Which
that was a late surprise.
It was a bit of a surprise there. And then Josh Downs in Indianapolis, who was their primary target. Jackson Smith and Jigba
was the number 3.
Yeah, he was like, I mean, but he was their number 2.
2.5?
Yeah, but behind DK Metcalf. Like, he was the guy behind somebody who was that dude all season long. So that's why I think it's coming from the vet. I think it's coming from DK and trickling on down to Jackson Smith and Jigba. I love this. But way to go, bus driver. You're doing a great job.
Nice job.
You're doing a fantastic job.
The bus wasn't fully loaded.
All right.
It was empty. It didn't have passengers in it.
Can one 49er get the monkey off his back like Steve Young did? And it's not Brock Purdy. Next on The Fan. When that plays, I got hit in the head with the tortilla. That is going to be one that I'll never forget. Is going down to Lubbock, Texas.
Lubbock's a great place, man.
And the way they frame it is like, hey, they got the tortilla tradition. It's like, oh, cool. So like on the first kickoff for Texas Tech of every game, the students throw a tortilla out there. And I was like, oh, cool. No, they don't. They throw them continuously for 3.5 hours, and then they get drunk and bored and start dipping them in water, wadding them up, and just hucking them at the visitor sideline and bench. Oh, my God. It was nuts. That play, Texas Tech fans are absolute lunatics.
Unhinged.
Where their student section is, I should say.
No,
and it's on the visitor side, and it is right on the field. Like, it is a tight sideline, too.
Did you ask the equipment manager if they had an extra helmet for you?
No, I should have, though.
Or some guacamole.
Would have been nice.
Right?
Would have been nice.
Have you seen the tortilla slap thing?
the
trend,
TikTok trend, yeah.
So there's one that takes it a step further that is maybe one of my favorite TikToks out there. There are these masks that have like little horns built into them, and you have to be quiet while somebody like as blindfolded like kind of chases you around the room. And if they find you and they touch you, that's like you're out kind of a deal. It's kind of like a tag situation, but you have a rubber band on that the person then gets to pull, like it's on your chest. It stretch it all the way out and snap it into your chest.
Where's the ball gag at in all of this? Like, this sounds very Eyes Wide Shut.
But here's the thing, like when the rubber band hits, you have to stay quiet, because if you don't, you end up making this like wheezing, like bark sound through the noisemaker, and they get to do it again. And it is one of my.
Oh my God.
In the next break, I will show you a video of this. It is the dumbest, most dudes doing dudes thing ever.
Yeah.
But it's like taking the tortilla challenge up to like the umpteenth level. And every time I come across one of them, I have to watch it and I laugh like I'm 5 years old.
I don't blame you.
It has to happen.
That sounds hilarious.
Every single time.
All right.
Every time.
To put a bow on that last conversation we had, I do believe it is DK Metcalf that is the
genesis of this.
The great, yes. I went and I looked up DK's targets this year. There were only 2 games all season long where he had more than 10 targets. He had 112 on the season. That's 6.5 a game.
That's criminal. Like, I get it. West Coast offense, run the ball, blah, 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 blah. Who can guard DK Metcalf?
God.
That's about it. I don't care how bad his route running in is, or if he has a drop every now and then. He is 6'5", 230 pounds with a 40+ inch vertical. Throw him the damn ball.
Yeah.
Throw him the damn ball.
Oh, okay. I will. I'll do it.
That's such a criminally targets wise. Jefferson's like got what, a third more, maybe more than that.
Justin Jefferson
per game. Yeah.
I would say he's probably about that.
4 more per game?
Yeah. There was only one other game, one more game where DK had double-digit targets than Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah, that's
all
insane.
Season.
That's insane.
He had one where he had 11. DK had 11 in one and 14 in another. You need to feed him the ball. Diva status granted right there. All right, Super Bowl 58 coming up Sunday. We're just a few sleeps away. That gets me excited. Also gets me sad. Yeah, but because
it means it's over.
It means it's over. It's over. And we all remember that Super Bowl 1995, the San Francisco 49ers absolutely wallop the Chargers in the Super Bowl. What was that? What was the score of that game? 51-, or was that
10? 51-10, wasn't it?
Was that what it was? Good Lord.
It was absolute shellacking.
Or was that, am I thinking 51 was, I know that the, what's their butts? Cowboys scored 51 against the Bills, but I don't remember.
49-26.
49. Yeah, 49-26. A game that was not very close. And we all remember Steve Young saying, finally got the monkey off my back. Could we see Kyle Shanahan get the monkey off his back this weekend? A 49ers win, a guy who has accounted for 2 of the 6 largest Super Bowl comebacks ever, incling he was on staff for one of them. Even though he was not the head coach. That goes to Dan Quinn, Commander's new head coach.
Shout out. Turns out that black mark isn't really affecting anybody from getting a job.
And then we saw 10-point fourth quarter lead in the rematch of this Super Bowl against Kansas City Chiefs, where that lead evaporated relatively quickly. You don't see a lot of big leads disappear in Super Bowls like this. But Kyle Shanahan has been on the bad side of two of them.
A lot.
Could we see the narrative completely change around Kyle Shanahan, similarly to Andy Reid? Remember, this was Andy Reid's whole thing, right? How many timeouts is Andy Reid going to end the season with this time? Andy Reid not able to get over the hump. Well, turns out your quarterback's healthy. You are in a Super Bowl and you get over the hump. Patrick Mahomes has changed the narrative around Andy Reid's career. It took him, 15 years?
Yeah, I mean, it was a hell of a redemption arc. I mean, if you're old enough to remember the Donovan McNabb, Terrell Owens playing with a broken leg, it was all Andy Reid's fault. All Andy Reid's fault. Andy Reid can't do it. Can't win.
And you get that with Kyle Shanahan, because what do we say about Brock Purdy? Brock Purdy's got all those weapons. Brock Purdy's got Kyle Shanahan as his coach. Kyle Shanahan, but it couldn't be. Now it's, hey, move the goalposts over. Kyle Shanahan cannot manage a game late. Which one is it?
Well, it's whatever comfortably fits your narrative, and whatever you want it to be.
You know what it could be if it goes sideways for the 49ers? George Kittle did not practice last week in the off week, was limited in practice yesterday with that toe injury. And also you got Deebo Samuel's shoulder injury. It could come back down to injuries, because we always want to find whatever it is that they can't get over the hump. But if Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers get a lead on the Kansas City Chiefs and they win the Super Bowl, that could be the big narrative that we put to bed in this game, is Kyle Shanahan in his inability to manage late in games with a lead.
I think the interesting thing will be is regardless of the outcome in a win, I should say, whether it's a runaway, whether it's close, come from behind, whatever it is. I think if you win and you're Shanahan, you kind of get to tell the story. You know, that's kind of how history works, is the victors get to tell the history of it all. And I think that will be a big part of this, is if he's able to win, regardless of the style, it'll just be that monkey is off his back no matter what. Because once you win that Super Bowl, and especially if you do it against this Chiefs team, I think that adds the extra stamp to it. It won't be, you beat a broken X team that just happened to get hot at the right time.
But isn't it funny though that largely the Andy Reid questions have disappeared and we don't talk about them anymore?
They're entirely gone.
13 seconds for Patrick Mahomes, right? At the end of a game, it's like, maybe could have had a little extra time. Mm-hmm. You know, the time management is a thing where it's two parts. One, Patrick Mahomes, that offense, they're winning in these tight games, and it is not just your coach. But the other part is, we don't give coaches the grace to mature and grow because they're the head coach. They're supposed to be the guy that's in that control. Mm-hmm. We've seen that with Andy Reid, though. We've seen that with other coaches who you stub your toe. It's not if you make the mistake, it's if you continue to make the same mistakes over and over and over again. And that was the knock on Andy Reid. And now we're like, no, Andy Reid's fine. It couldn't be Andy Reid's fault anymore because he got over that hump. Because he's gotten over it a few times.
Yeah, when you do it more than once, it's a little bit easier.
Yeah. And now I think the evolution of Kyle Shanahan as a coach, I think that may be the next step that we see. And he could get that monkey off his back a la Steve Young with a win on Sunday.
Yeah, and the other part of this, obviously, is that this is the first time, they haven't had something stupid happen to them. Whether it's being on their fourth quarterback or having injuries pile up or having Shanahan completely scrapping his entire offense in the second half of a game. There's just always been something you just kind of like, whether it's something they can control or not, you're scratching your head going, what the hell?
Well, there's players make the plays. Mm-hmm. And that's the important thing. Like, the knock with, Tom Brady went to 10 Super Bowls. He only won 6 of them. He lost 4.
How dare he?
He won. He took the lead in, I think, 3 of those 4 Super Bowls that he lost. And
There's another side of the ball.
Guess what happened? Bill Belichick, who we don't criticize for game management or those late games, they gave up the drives, right? It took Malcolm Butler picking the ball off on the goal line to seal one of those Super Bowls, but we saw 2 drives against the New York Giants. I mean, this is what it's amazing how we glom on to some things and then we just ignore the others for some of these coaches because you have to win the champ. You have to win the big. You have to win the big game.
Have to win the big one.
The big one. It'll look really bad if they blow a lead in this one, though.
The closer I get to this, the more I'm becoming the Niners have to win this.
It is so much more important for San Francisco than it is
Chiefs
Kansas
lose. It's
City.
like, yeah, well, you know.
It is
But
way more.
Niners lose, it's all of a sudden like you don't fire Shanahan, but you go,
what else can we give him?
Yeah, what else can you do here? You know, I thinking about it, I kind of squint and go,
Hasn't John Lynch done an amazing job with that roster?
I mean, for them to be where they are after the Trey Lance deal it doesn't make sense. The math isn't mathing.
But
that should have crippled them.
At every turn, they go and they find a way to pay all their guys, and you're going to have to pay the piper eventually.
And they've rinsed through it 3 different years.
And you go and you
That's the insane thing. 3 straight NFC title games. Like, your roster's getting picked over. The guys that you're trading for at the deadline are getting moved on, or you've got to make choices. I mean, they lost guys on their defensive front. Like, it's just, they continue
But you find Chase Young. You go and you get Chase Young this year. It's like, what? How many
Or
more?
you go and find a guy like Hufanga in the first place. Like,
and they've made tough choices on guys like DeForest Buckner.
yeah, who is a dude.
Amazing.
So, yeah, the more and more I get through this, the more when we get to our picks, I think I know which way I'm going.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, let's go back to the NBA trade deadline really quick because Damian Lillard's going to have to make nice, and he's going to have to do it in short order next on The Fan. One of the trades in the NBA that caught everybody's eye, especially locally here, the Milwaukee Bucks trading for Pat Bev. They send Cameron Payne, and who else? What else do they send?
I believe it was a second-round pick.
Second-round pick for Patrick Beverley. Milwaukee gets a backup guard who's okay playing that role, defensive-minded floor general that you can put on the floor. And I thought you made a great point with the Beasley, with Beasley being promised a starting role in Milwaukee. This is something that you look at and you go, you have to have a defensive-minded guard somewhere on the floor.
Somewhere out there.
And he's going to be coming off the bench.
And it's got to be a vet because Doc Rivers is not going to play the kids.
And we know it's not.
They've got Marjan Beauchamp and Andre Jackson Jr. on the bench. I don't believe they've played a second since Doc has taken over. Doc does not believe in kids. Never has, never will. That's not going to change. So, Horst goes out, the general manager for the Bucks goes out and gets them a guy that, for all of his warts is a good defender. Pat Bev does trick y'all though.
Well, Pat Bev and Damian Lillard, they've got quite the history together.
Lots of it.
And this is, we go back, this goes before this, but I think where everybody kind of, the big memory with Patrick Beverley, the bubble, where he wasn't even playing.
Laughing at Damian Lillard missing a free throw.
Dame misses a free throw. He does the Cancun on 3 in response to Dame, and it kind of always escalated from there. Dame subtweets him and says, he's fooling y'all. He's a flip above the rim,
Flip from above the rim.
Flip from above the rim. Yep. He said, I'll whoop that ass at the free throw line when Pat Bev was a Laker. Mm-hmm. You have them just kind of going
Pat
back
Bev
and
doing
forth on Twitter.
Doing the fake Dame time, the watch that being broken.
Every single time that they play each other. There's bad blood there.
Oh, yeah.
And it was real bad blood.
Look, I know for a fact Dame had no love lost for Pat Bev. But for a title, they're willing to put it all aside. They know.
Well, they got to make nice with each other.
Yeah, they do.
They have got to make nice with each other, and I think that is something that I don't think Dame will have a problem with it. And here's the thing about Patrick Beverley, and this is why I've always said about Patrick Beverley, you hate him from afar, but when he is on your team, you all of a sudden start to love him because he kind of gets along with everybody, and all that stuff he tries to flush and push aside as hard as he may, and as hard as it may be for others to do, it kind of does it.
To an extent. He was traded today, and then he goes off and hops on his own podcast live minutes after being traded and addresses, how things are shaping up with Dame.
No, I got to get my relationship right with Dame. Got to get my relationship right with Dame, man. Time with a championship, man. Got to get my relationship.
How does that happen when you call him a con man? The Dame called him a con man. Pat Bev mocked him at every turn.
Dame is a professional, and even if he doesn't like Pat Bev, I know one thing that Dame loves is he loves a competitor. And I think that will be the way that they can cross this bridge.
This is what Dame said to Chris Haynes. First, I want to say I'm sad to see Cameron Payne go. We developed a friendship that I cherish. As for Pat, he brings an edge and a defensive tenacity on the perimeter that we need. There are not many players who bring it on a nightly like him. I look forward to working together. Our past personal issues don't trump an opportunity to win a championship.
And I believe that whole cloth. I believe that entirely whole cloth.
Now he's going, F it, let's ride, huh?
That's what Dame's always been.
Yeah.
Look, there are guys in the league that I know that I've talked to him about over the years about who he thinks is underrated, who he thinks is overrated, guys who he wants to play with, guys who he didn't want to play with. But he said all that stuff goes out the window if I have a chance to win a title.
What if they become friends?
They become this is a full stepbrother situation.
Yeah. Okay.
Pat Bev is rubbing his on the drum set.
Now, we heard this when Dame in his return to Portland of the family is still here.
Mm-hmm.
The family is still here in Portland. What if they're we become roommates?
I mean,
yep.
Pat does need a place to stay, and Dame does have a very big house right now in Milwaukee that I could You know, I might have to do a really bad Photoshop and put Dame and Pat Bev's face on a Step Brothers video cover. might have to do that. Are they going to get together at the Catalina wine mixer?
It's the Catalina wine mixer.
Effing Catalina wine mixer.
All right.
The only guy they need is Firkin to be on their team too.
Turkish Delight, baby.
The Firkin Catalina wine mixer.
Furky. All right, coming up next, it is our worst day on the web. And look, not all things that happen in Vegas stay in Vegas. And sometimes, well, a lot of times, they aren't true. But first, here's a Big Kahuna Sports Center update.
I hear they got some tasty burgers.
It's a Super Week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by George McCoy at Warren Allen, attorneys at law.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by 808 Hawaiian Restaurant. Add some island flair to your super party this weekend. Order your big game spread at ate-oh-ate.com. Mahalo. First on The Fan, the Trailblazers begin a 7-game homestand tonight, hosting the league worst Pistons. DeAndre Ayton, Scoot Henderson, both questionable. Jeremy Grant and Jabari Walker are probable. 7 o'clock tip on Root Sports. The Blazers are 6.5-point favorites. Just ahead of today's trade deadline, the Blazers did make a small deal, sending a top 55 protected 2027 second rounder to the Celtics for Delano Banton. The Pacers sending Buddy Hield to the 76ers for Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, and 3 second-round picks. The Spurs trading Doug McDermott to the Pacers for Marcus Morris. On the move again, a second-rounder and cash. The Jazz sending Kelly Olynyk and Ochai Agbaji to the Raptors for Otto Porter Jr., Kira Lewis, and a first-round pick. The Hornets sending Gordon Hayward to the Thunder for Trey Mann, Davis Bertans, Vasilije Micic, and 2 second-round picks. The Pistons trading Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks to the Knicks for Quentin Grimes, Malachi Flynn, Evan Fournier, Ryan Archie-Diacono, and 2 second-rounders. The Wizards sending Daniel Gafford to the Mavericks for Richaun Holmes and draft compensation. Raptors trading Dennis Schroeder and Thaddeus Young to the Nets for Spencer Dinwiddie, who's likely to be waived. The Hornets finalizing a trade to send P.J. Washington to the Mavericks for Grant Williams, Seth Curry, and a lightly protected 2027 first-rounder. The Nets sending Royce O'Neal to the Suns for salaries and 3 second-round picks. The Suns and Grizzlies will swap picks as David Roddy heads to Phoenix and Yuta Watanabe to Memphis. 76ers trading Patrick Beverley to the Bucks for Cam Payne and a second-round pick. The Bucks sending Robin Lopez to the Kings, where he's expected to be waived. And the Warriors trading Corey Joseph and cash to the Pacers for a second-rounder. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager on all the pro football playoff action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
You're invited to play in the first annual Fan Winter Golf Classic at X Golf Tualatin and X Golf Vancouver. Sign your threesome up at 1080thefan.com.
By George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
On 1080 The Fan. It's time for today's worst day on the web. With Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Well, that sucks.
Well, here's a fun little fact for you. It doesn't entirely relate to this, but it kind of sets the table. Did you know that Las Vegas is the leading or the leader in police extraditions in the world?
No,
not in the country, in the world.
In the world?
If you break a law and you go out on bail and you need to make an appearance or you have a warrant out for your arrest, Las Vegas wants to bring you home because they want to charge you and they want to take your money and whatever else they have from you.
Is this like from experience or?
No.
Okay. Just a fact you came across.
It's a fact I came across. My wife, again, a woman in this country, so therefore she is legally obligated to watch every single crime show in existence.
Actually, yeah, that makes sense.
Right?
Yep. The information is tracking.
So I was walking out of the room and they were talking about some cold case that somebody got pulled over for in another country and got brought back to the U.S. And then Las Vegas was like, hey, the warrant's out for us. We want him here. So there you go. But I say all of this to say that the police in Las Vegas are now fighting back against something that didn't happen in Vegas. In which there's a
wait, this goes against what you just said. Goes against the what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
No, it does stay in Vegas.
It just brings your ass back there.
Yeah, exactly. It stays in Vegas. If you do it here and you get caught, you're going to come back here. I don't care. You don't just get to leave. But there was a report on Twitter that a unknown NFL player was attacked by a coyote. It was propagated by an account that gained so much traction that the police in Las Vegas had to come out and issue an actual statement saying, no, this didn't happen.
Coyote attacks are up. They're getting closer and closer, and they're getting more and more feisty.
They're around here.
I know.
Particularly on the hills here in Beaverton. My in-laws live just over the hill here, and we went over there a couple weeks ago, and I was like, that's a big, it's a coyote. It was very strange to see a coyote crossing shoals.
Yeah, they're
like
in
the middle of the city.
I live in the Rock Creek area.
And they come down from the hills out there.
They come out, yeah, I don't have to go too far. They come out of everywhere. And you'll see them like, if you're out early in the morning, you'll see like
a grayish red looking dog.
Yeah, and they'll just be going down the street and you're like, that's not good. That's not good.
Super normal to see in the desert, in Las Vegas, in Arizona particularly. But coyotes run. They don't attack. They don't attack people.
No, they don't. They usually aren't aggressive unless they're hungry.
And even then, they sit on the outside hoping to surprise you, not like run at you gnashing like a wolf.
So here's what happened. There was a report on Twitter, as you said, that at Lake Las Vegas, which is technically in the Henderson, Nevada,
20 minutes away.
Yeah, they're in the Henderson, Nevada jurisdiction. There was a report that an NFL player had been attacked by a coyote, and it spread like wildfire because this was on Sunday night. Apparently this happened. And it was like, well, guess who got in on Sunday night? The Chiefs and the Niners. What if it was one of the people in the Super Bowl? It was to the point where on opening night, the Chiefs' official Twitter account, they sent Joshua Williams, one of their defensive backs, out at opening night to try to get to the bottom of it and interviewing players. Were you the one bitten by the coyote? Mm-hmm. Like it became like this story within the Super Bowl.
I feel like it has to turn into how many coyotes can you take on?
But no, this is where I was thinking, because it was like an NFL player. I feel like an NFL player could take out a coyote.
I feel like any of us could take out a coyote.
I feel like I could probably...
Coyotes are small.
2 or 3 coyotes. Look, they're not big dogs. No. They do bite. Yeah, but if I'm fighting off a coyote.
Like if we're talking life or death, I'm fighting a coyote.
The Henderson police said they received no calls or no reports on any of the emergency lines regarding a coyote
attack. The voicemail on the non... emergency line.
Yeah.
Help! I'm being attacked by a coyote.
I feel like if you, though, get bit by a coyote, you're probably going to go to
A hospital.
to like get it cleaned out
check
at the
for the
very
rabies.
least. Yeah. You don't want to ruin your Vegas trip by foaming at the mouth
No.
and
Well, I mean,
having rabies.
See the second part. Foaming at the mouth, totally okay. Having the rabies, not okay.
I feel like if you're foaming at the mouth, you're probably ODing on some drugs in Vegas.
You're saying that like it's
I've
a bad
seen
thing.
Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
That was in L.A.
And they brought you back to life.
All you have to do is go to the drug dealer's house, and they got the pen there.
The big needle that goes into your heart.
Yeah, that was a hell of a.
That was a lot, especially when that movie came out.
But NFL player, I'm saying no.
Yeah.
This is false report.
Look,
I think an NFL player could feasibly take out
4 or 5 coyotes.
5. I'm saying 5 to 7.
Yeah.
5 to 7 seems like
solid little pack.
a
Now,
solid feisty
if
pack.
we're talking wolves, no, the number is 0.
0. Well, one wolf takes out human. Wolves are huge.
They're huge. They have huge teeth. They are mean. They are nasty. Every time I hear like somebody say like, "Oh, it's a cute little wolf," and I'm like, "It's not. There's nothing little about a wolf. Your husky that you think is big is a chihuahua size compared to a wolf."
I find it very interesting that there is like this push of like, reintroducing wolves into like the rural parts of our state, like in Eastern Oregon even. But across the country, they're like, yeah, no, we need the wolf population back up. Ranchers, cattle farmers,
they don't like it.
They absolutely despise wolves.
Oh, they see a wolf,
what they do?
They kill it immediately. No questions asked.
They just pick off their herds left and right because it's easy pickings.
Yes, and they are violent predators.
Yeah,
that's what they do.
Yeah,
but yeah, the whole idea of like again, it's like Will Darkin saying he could fight a hippo.
Yeah,
you're not fighting a hippo. You're not fighting a wolf.
See, look at this. Man,
Sook's going to come in here. We're going to get to a break when he comes in here in about 25, 30 minutes. I could take on a wolf.
No, I don't think. I think he's.
You think he backs down?
I don't think he could take out a wolf. I don't think he could take out a wolf. I think he knows he can't take out a wolf. Wolves are dangerous.
They are, and they're huge.
Yeah. I'm nothing with the wolf. I think I could take out a couple coyotes though. Okay. And I think like even like an NFL kicker, they could just kick that. They could punt that coyote, and that coyote's gone. Right? They're
McAfee getting a hold of one of them things.
No, they're kicking that thing, and I don't think we have this issue here.
No.
But now we have the coyote people. They're chiming in. We got somebody that works over by Moda. I see a coyote in our parking lot at least 2 to 3 times a month, mostly searching our local bunny rabbit infestation.
Yeah, no, there is a crap ton of rabbits over by Moda.
Yeah,
it's rabbits and rats. It's almost like the coast.
I mean, the rats, I get it.
Yeah, no, but like it's almost like the coast now, where like there's these pockets of just like 40 bunnies. Somebody like released their rabbit into like the little.
I mean, there is like humping like rabbits.
Yes,
Cannon Beach has got a lot of rabbits.
They're everywhere because
if you go sit at the window front like at Moe's, you'll see them right there outside the window.
And it's because somebody just went and let a freaking rabbit out, or a couple rabbits out. That were, what do you call it when they're civilized? They're not wild. What's the word for it?
It'll come.
Not housebroken. Anyways, you know what I mean. But yeah, they let them go into the wild. That's what happens. It's like
domesticated.
Domesticated. Thank you. For love of God. Domestication.
Gotcha.
All right.
We got. We have another Rock Creeker here. I had a coyote follow me on a walk through the neighborhood around the golf course for like half a mile. See, that's not. They're stalking you.
No, they're just following. They're just watching. They're just hanging out.
Seeing if you'll drop anything.
Yeah. They're looking for a little treat. That's all.
No, just turn around and say, get on out of here.
Go on now, get. I wanted to talk about something else, but you brought up something before we came in this break about a golfer shooting a 57. I kind of want to talk about it just because of just how much research we just put into it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's crazy what has happened, and the numbers behind it are wild. That
Thinking
this
about
is happening.
Like if you were going to shoot a world record type score, this is the place to do it. We'll talk about that and more coming up here on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
Hello, sports fans.
Stuff comes and goes across our computers here during the show that we'll talk about during breaks that don't make the show. Every now and then it'll come into the show, and this is one of those opportunities where Dusty goes, "Guy shot 57," and my eyes went, "Wait, what?" And then he said, "In Bogota, Colombia." I was like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, right now you've got in Bogota the Astra Golf Championships is going on, and it's a Corn Ferry Tour event. And Cristobal de Soler, he shot a 57, 13 under. So it's a par 70 course. So it's playing at 6,200 yards right now. And apparently people forget Bogota really high up, 8,600 feet is the elevation, 8,600
I cannot begin to explain to people how high up that actually is. That's 3,400 feet higher than Denver.
Yeah.
When I was in Afghanistan, this is kind of the altitude that I was hanging out at, was anywhere between 7,500 and 8,500 feet. It is a type situation for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Until you finally start to get a hold of your air, which will definitely help your golf game if you're used to breathing at that altitude, because the air resistance is drastically different.
It sure is different up there. And to put that in perspective, like with your driver off the tee, they say that like it's from sea level to Denver, you'll get like 15 extra yards. Mm-hmm. So you go up a little bit further. You're saying we're probably in the 20 to 25 yard range further off the tee.
That's a significant difference. But also what it does to your ball spin, rotation, what's the trajectories?
Well, yeah, your spin rate.
Yes.
Your spin rate on the ball is way different when you get up to that elevation. So your rollout is going to be even further. Mm-hmm. And what this dude did on this course, first of all, you have guys that if you're driving 300 yards, you're talking about getting an extra 20 to 25 yards off the tee on the carry and then your spin out. These guys are, to put it into perspective, on the first hole, it's a par 4, 383-yard hole. He was 20 yards from the pin off the tee. So he drove the ball 363 yards off the tee.
Imagine what Rory's doing down there.
And these are the Corn Ferry guys. They're really good,
yeah,
but this
good.
is not.
This isn't the top of the PGA.
This
isn't DeChambeau off the tees.
On his scorecard, when you look at his scorecard, the incredible part is that there were 7 holes where he parred them. He parred 7 holes on this thing.
It's still 57. He
had 2 eagles. The rest were all birdies. And his scorecard, like on a 516-yard par 5, he went driver 9-iron, and then he ended up 2-putting on that hole for a birdie.
Good God.
Like you should not, with modern technology, you should not be on a 550-yard hole. He went driver 6-iron, hit it within 15 feet, and eagled the hole. There were several par 4s where he was either on the green or he was on the fringe in chipping on here.
On 2.
Yeah.
Where in most longer holes in the PGA, you're getting driver hybrid.
4 under in the opening round in this event is tied for 38th place.
The scoring is real. And for those wondering about the weather in Bogota, Colombia, not only is it quite nice, it's 70 degrees. It's 70 degrees at 8,000 feet, which means down below it's probably about 90 because it's the southern hemisphere and it's the summer.
If you are 1 over in this tournament, you are sitting at 126th after round 1.
I wonder what the payout is for this kind of tournament. What are we looking at? Do we have a prize pool for winnings here? What are we thinking? 50,000 to the winner?
The purse is $1 million. So
winner's probably 150.
Yeah, maybe probably even
100
lower than that.
I'm going to say it's usually around 10%.
You
of
might
the total.
You're probably at about 100. Yeah. You're probably at $100,000. But a 57 that's an incredible golf.
Regardless of where it's at, man. Like 57 is insane.
But if you and his whole thing is like he was on 18 and he asked his caddy, he goes, "Where are we at? Like, I think we might be close to 60." He's like, "I don't know. Look at the damn scorecard, idiot."
What am I supposed to keep track of this for you?
He parred his last 3 holes and shot a 57.
Oh God,
these guys are nuts, man. So if you're looking for a third in the
looking for
inaugural Winter Golf Classic
looking
at
for
X
a
Golf,
stick.
go ahead and call Cristobal de Soler, who's absolutely hammering the ball in Bogota.
Well, we're playing Pebble Beach, so we're not. I don't know if the course in Bogota is on the system. I'll have to ask the X Golf guys about that. See if we can get that one put on there.
Man. Yeah, that'd be great if they were able to. If they were able to like adjust for elevation as you're playing.
You could.
Yeah.
It's just simple. It's just simple programming.
It's not simple for me, but I would assume that somebody who knows what they're doing, it'd probably be pretty simple to increase the spin rate and increase your
add a percentage to it.
Dang, man. I thought that was crazy though. If you go, and that would be,
I bet you that when we go to the break, I'm 100% pulling up that course. I bet you that course is on like alongside mountains.
Yeah. Well, at 8,600 feet, I would assume it's near a top of one.
Well, no, not there, man. You got the Andes Mountains, man. It's wild through there.
He's used to it though. He's from Chile, and then he went to Florida State. I wonder how long it took him to adjust
to being at sea level,
to being at Florida State, where you're
having oxygen just smashed into your lungs at sea level.
Yeah, what is this?
It's like, I don't have to fight to breathe.
His coaches were like, "Man, you used to drive the hell out of the ball. Now."
Yeah, look at
what happened to you.
I saw you hitting 350. Why are you hitting 285 now?
Bum. You bum.
All right, coming up next, with hour number 3, it is Thursday. We are making our last picks of the season. So we will make our Super Bowl picks, and then later in the hour, we will make our Propapalooza picks across all of the prop markets. 5 of our favorites coming up next year on Danny and Dusty, today the Fan. Dusty, on a Thursday afternoon on the last week of football in the 2024 season.
Wah, wah, wah.
You seemed kind of down today, and I think I figured out why.
It is a little bit of a downer. It is a little bit of a downer, and I see that football season is ending, and that makes me sad. That makes me sad.
But as one ends, another one begins. Like a phoenix, it will rise from the ashes.
Look at you go. Keep it going.
Like that?
Keep going. Keep going.
That's all I got.
Oh, okay.
That's all I got.
Damn.
But
I thought we were really rolling.
as it is a Thursday afternoon at 2:00, it is time to make our final picks of the season. It has been a long and illustrious road. Dusty, unfortunately, you do not have the opportunity to make it back to 500.
No, I don't. No, I'll be one game under.
Jeff Rust, you have the ability to be at 500 or 2 games above 500. Weirdly enough, I'm way out in front.
Yeah.
After being...
Hells yeah, you are. You had a great year picking.
Last year, I think I was as good as I was this year. I was equally as bad last year, which means the house wins.
The house wins. It always wins. It always wins.
How are you feeling about your Super Bowl pick?
I really think this is going to be an awesome game. Like I said this yesterday, I've said it all week, is I'm excited for this game because you have a very exciting matchup between these two teams, and it's going to be the power of wills. And there is every reason in your brain to tell you this thing could slow down and we could hit the under in it. Which is 47.5. Has it moved from 47.5?
It is at 47.5 still. I was checking the live line. It's 47.5, and the spread is 2.
I could see the under hitting very easily. I could also see this thing turning into a bit of a track meet, and we have a higher scoring affair, and being both teams in the 30s. I could see a 34-31 game just as easily as I could see it being 21-17.
A 27-23 score is screaming to me.
But, and there's a reason why Vegas has the line set at 47.5 is because I think a lot of people feel it'll kind of be in that range there. But that's what I love about this matchup, and with the Chiefs defense has been surging at the end of the year over the body of work in 17 weeks of the regular season. The San Francisco 49ers defense was one of the best in the entire NFL. And we know when you have Patrick Mahomes and you are going to feed Travis Kelce and they get that running game going with Isaiah Pacheco, they've unlocked another dimension of this offense that makes them terrifying. In over 17 weeks, what Kansas City was doing on the offensive side of the ball was trying to figure out what they were at the receiver position, where they were at with their skills. Well, they've honed it in the playoffs, and they've been really scary with Pacheco leading the charge, and then Rashee Rice as the go-to receiver, with Travis Kelce being Mr. Reliable in the safety blanket. Then you just have weapons. And if Brock Purdy can do what he's done all season long, which is feed his weapons in the middle of the field, get Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, having defenses on their heels in the run game, they're just as scary, man. I can't tell you how excited I am for this game because you have the two best teams in football. At the beginning of the year, everybody was like, Chiefs, Niners, yes. Put it in my veins. If it's the Bills, yeah, I'd love to have Buffalo back in this thing. If it was Baltimore as the season was going on, we were like, yeah, that'd be great to see them. But at the beginning of the year, we were all sitting there and we were saying, Kansas City and San Francisco, they do appear to be the two best teams in the NFL. And here we are standing at the end of the year. You can't ask for much more. You can't, because even like the Patriots dynasty and the Patriots run, there was always flaws that you could look at and you could be like, yeah, I could see it this year.
For a long time, there wasn't a single wide receiver you could count on.
They're not the scariest team in the NFL. Both of these teams are pretty damn scary. And it wasn't going to be Miami. And we saw why when they had to go and play in
anywhere other
cold temperatures.
Yes, anywhere other than Florida. So which way are you going?
I will be pulling for the San Francisco 49ers. My pick is with the Kansas City Chiefs. I do believe in their defense a lot.
We going money line or we going
now.
points?
I'm going, points, because I think Kansas City's going to win outright.
Okay.
And I believe that, they're what? The line's been fluctuating between 1 and 2. Yeah, I like the Niners giving Kansas City 2 points in this game.
For all of the reasons that you just laid out is the exact reason why I'm going to take the 49ers.
Go for it.
I'm going to take the 49ers and the points, and I'm going to double it up, and I'm going to take the over.
Desperation, too.
I'm going to take the over.
You're going 47.5.
I think this is a 50-point game, 51-point game. I've just, as good as their defenses have been, I feel like Kansas City might have to chase a little bit because the Niners have a lot more toys to play with than anybody else they've really faced. And it's going to make them open things up and not be able to go ground and pound and chew clock and chew possessions. And it's going to push the score up ever so slightly. I
could see it. I could see it. Jeffrey?
Senor Rust.
I'm done trying to doubt Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I think they win outright.
Simply and blunt?
Yeah, I'm tired of getting kicked in the face by that, so yeah.
I mean, I don't want to pick a winner in this. Like I said, I was searching the prop bets, which we'll get to here, or coming up in a few minutes. The sweet, sweet meteor of death was not an option. So
it's not. It's not. Option. And it's going to happen.
I'm rooting for the meteor
on the Raiders field.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the closest the Raiders are going to get for a long, long time.
Hey, but they're going after quarterback in the offseason, guys.
Hey, who's their offensive coordinator?
Oh, God. I almost cussed on radio.
Who is it? It's Cliff Kingsbury, right? It's Cliff Kingsbury, right? Oh, wait.
Luke Getsy?
No. It's Luke Getsy.
Sounds like a
Sounds
like a reject from the Great Gatsby.
We heard how Jackson Smith and Jigba felt about Shane Waldron. Let's hear how DJ Moore feels about Luke Getsy.
Let's not.
Okay, maybe Cole Kmet.
It's not even the combine yet. I can't do this. I can't. It's not even the Underwear Olympics, and I cannot. Look, I stuck the landing for Cliff Kingsbury. I refuse to do it for Luke Getsy. I refuse.
You can't.
It's just not gonna be a thing.
You can't do it.
Nope.
Not gonna do it.
So there you go. We have one for Bang Bang Niner game, 2 for the Chiefs. And we'll see how this one goes.
I love it. We're here.
I'm excited for the game.
It is nice. It's nice to finally have a game at Super Bowl where there isn't somebody that you're just outside of you, of course, just actively rooting against because you're tired of it. Like I realize the Chiefs have been there off and on. They've both been there quite a lot lately, but I feel like nobody's tired of them.
No, it's a marquee matchup. It is what it is. You've got, again, we've talked about it all week, the last 2 weeks. Styles make fights, and the styles match up for what should be a good fight.
Absolutely. I'm jacked. And I can't wait to see which will breaks first, because if you look at the San Francisco 49ers, they're the most comfortable playing to what is the perceived weakness, I guess would be the only weakness in the Chiefs game, which is zone heavy, especially through the middle with linebackers that can cover. And then on the flip side of that, you have got a defense that has been playing out of their gourd. They're really disciplined and throw so many looks at you in the secondary. And when you have Brock Purdy, who has been incredible as that
undefeated in playoff games he's finished,
and he has been out. The second half of that game against Detroit is about as damn good as you get from Brock Purdy.
Dialed in.
But Steve Spagnuolo throws the kitchen sink at you, and he always will. And for a young quarterback who hasn't seen it all and who hasn't seen it on this stage, where you are in everything about Super Bowl week, everything's magnified a little bit, whether it's your press availability, whether it is just the busyness around your team, and you can't really, as much as you try and they can take you out to a resort off the strip, everything there's a buzz around your team, and everything, there's no privacy. You have zero privacy this week. That's a hard thing for young players to handle and digest, and Brock Purdy's never been a part of this before, and that's going to be something that's really interesting for me to see how he handles it. He's been a pro through and through with every single step of his maturation as a quarterback.
Hopefully he handles the spotlight better than his doppelganger, Lee Harvey Oswald.
It's very tough. Are you saying he's going to be assassinated?
Wow.
Well, that's when he was in the spotlight. Just,
I guess it's better than putting him through a scope.
My God.
All right, coming up next, it is time for Propapalooza, ladies and gentlemen. The bets that we all are more interested in the game. We got a whole list of them. We'll get to those and more coming up here on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. It is the betting Super Bowl weekend. Not for the game, but for the prop bets. The prop bets were unveiled a week ago. The boards across all of these sports books flipped over all at once across the strip, highlighting the hundreds of bets that you could make outside of your spread, over-under, and straight money line.
It is awesome. You get a Propapalooza. And look, you can get lines offshore on things like how long will Taylor Swift be on camera for? Which, I mean, those are fun. I like those when you have like at the Super Bowl party, you put the sheet together and you do the betting sheet and you have a sheet together. The squares are one thing. Yeah. Everybody does squares, but you put a sheet together of all of the ancillary props. Like you'll have the over-under on Anthem. Yards of Deebo Samuel, but you'll have Anthem, coin toss, Gatorade bath, Taylor Swift. Those are all great. Those are a ton of fun to have at the Super Bowl party. And if you don't have one, make sure you're the person to put it together. Thanks. Put those feelers out there to make sure you have that prop sheet ready to go because it has a little bit of juice and everybody likes that, right?
Bet some tortilla chips on it.
No, bet some money on it responsibly bet some money on it, but you put the kitty together. Everybody puts in $5
expressly for entertainment purposes.
There you go. It's all good and fun. It's all good fun that you have there. But then you have some in-game props that are truly awesome.
I decided to take nothing but obscure props because that's what Super Bowl's fun for.
Yep.
Do you have your list?
I do.
You do? Okay. Yeah. You want to start us off?
Yeah. Okay. Because this one I got longest touchdown. I always like this one.
Oh, that's a good one.
Longest touchdown. The over-under set at 39.5 at Circa. And so I went back and I looked over the last 20 Super Bowls. How many games have we had a touchdown of over 39.5 yards, so 40 yards or more? Vegas knows what they're doing. 10-10. But there is a trend over the last 20 years. We have never had more in the last 20 years, more than 2 games in a row have a touchdown of over 40 yards or more.
Oh.
Yeah. And guess what we've had the last 2 Super Bowls? A touchdown of over 40 yards or more. So I'm going to go under the 39.5 yards for a touchdown in Super Bowl 58 because in the last 20 Super Bowls, you've only had back-to-back years. You've never had a run of 3 or more. And really, if you look at it, since they put, oddly enough, the Chuck rule, the bump and run at the line of scrimmage, that was kind of like the death of having the long touchdowns because we had 6 straight from Super Bowl 33 to 38. We had 6 straight Super Bowls of it with a touchdown of over 30 yards or more. And really since then,
they said no.
We haven't had it because guess what? You miss on your jam. He's running right past you.
Bah.
Tutty buddy. And so I'm going to go under 39.5 for the longest touchdown of the game.
I like that. I think that's a pretty safe play. Like I said, all mine are going to be a little bit different in the sense of what I picked. For those that are unaware of what a scoregami is, a scoregami is a unique score in the NFL. How many unique scores do you think there's been in NFL history?
In NFL history?
Yes.
I think I saw that there's only... of the possible ones, there's only like
not a ton left,
22 left or something like that are even
feasible,
possible.
Yeah,
that are even possible. So to get it in a Super Bowl would be truly wild.
And it has happened. In fact, 48-6 when the Seahawks beat the brakes off the Broncos. That was a scoregami. It has in fact happened 3 times in the Super Bowl era. There are 1,084 so far unique scores in NFL history, 9 of them coming this year. I like that. It's a 5% chance. We're going to get a little weird. I'm going to take the yes on the scoregami. It is a plus 2,000.
Do you know what scoregamis are available still? Do you know, like, because that would be super weird. Like, if you're hoping for like a 19-2 game, I don't think you're going to get that.
let me grab these real quick. No, there is a what is it? 39-22 is a opening. 32-22 is an opening. 32-12 is an opening. There's a bunch at 32, interestingly enough.
Okay.
So I'm looking at total points around that range. Like I said, the 32-22 one is there. The 32-19 is also there. So there is a distinct line. 32 is a weird spot to land.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take it just because it's fun. But the no on a scoregami is minus 10,000.
I'm trying to think of how you get to 32. Like 32 is hard
It's a
to
weird
get
number
to.
to get to. It is.
Because you're looking at, you have to.
You got 4 touchdowns with
four touchdowns.
One of them being a 2-point conversion and then also a field goal.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Get a little weird.
That's a tough. That is very tough. Here's one that you don't have great odds on.
Or you could get 2 touchdowns and 6 field goals.
Sure. There you go. Odd or even. First touchdown scored by a player wearing an odd or even number.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Think of the even number guys that
I'm gonna go odd with CMC.
Odd is going to be your odds are in odds favor.
Yes.
Because Isaiah Pacheco wears number 10. He is even. But then you think of Travis Kelce.
87.
He wears 87. George Kittle's 85. Debo Samuel's 19. Christian McCaffrey's 23.
Ayuk is 11?
Yep. Brandon Ayuk is 11.
Mahomes is 15.
If you think if you're thinking
you ran it in,
the first touchdown is going to be by the San Francisco 49ers, odd is overwhelmingly in your favor unless you think Kyle Juszczyk is going to be the first touchdown scorer because he's at 44, Purdy's 13, everybody that touches the ball for the 49ers is odd. Odd, and you could lay it down and you're going to be pretty good. You're going to be set pretty good with that one.
I'm going to go with the traditional heads versus tails. It is there. And in fact,
minus 104 and minus 103, I think is it.
Yes, and what is minus 104?
Heads?
No.
Tails? Tails never fails.
Exactly. The tails never fails gets them the slightly worse odds.
I like it.
So I'm going to take tails because, tails never fails.
I got one here. The Super Bowl MVP, and this is not an obscure one by any means. Isaiah Pacheco is plus 2,600.
I saw that and I was like, that seems like good value. For a guy that's going to touch the ball probably a ton.
And
he's going to touch the ball probably 20 times.
And where is San Francisco the weakest on their defense?
Ding, 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 ding.
Outside
ding,
in the run game. So if the Chiefs win and he has a big game.
Let's say he gets 90 plus yards and 2 touchdowns. What does Mahomes have to do to take that away from him?
Mahomes is plus 155. It's a game-winning drive, right? And that's
or,
it. If it's
or
a tight
3
game.
touchdowns. It's got to be a performance that stands out.
But if you want value on anybody but Patrick Mahomes really Brock Purdy,
it's Pacheco.
Pacheco's plus 2,600, but Travis Kelce's plus 1,400. Which, if you're getting better odds with Pacheco than Kelce, I'm going to go with Pacheco on that. And then if you look at it on the 49ers side, some of the Debo Samuel's plus 2,500, Christian McCaffrey's plus 425, which I think is pretty good odds
decent.
there.
Considering how much he's going to touch the ball.
Kittle is plus 6,500, and I think that goes back to his playoff numbers. Brandon Ayuk is at plus 5,500 for Super Bowl MVP, and if he gets loose and has a big game, watch out.
Look at the Bengals in the Super Bowl. It wasn't Chase. It was it was T. T's the one who had the big game. So if the secondary guy gets loose, I could see that being him in that case. I went with another weird one: a kicker or punter making a solo tackle.
We got odds on that?
Oh yeah, plus 950 yes, minus 1550 no. Give me the yes.
Whoa.
Give me the kicker or punter making a tackle.
All right. I got Chiefs, the first team to score in the game, the Kansas City Chiefs. In this one, because if you look at it, and this really just goes back to who you believe will win the game, because teams that score first in the last 7 Super Bowls are 6-1. In the last 7 Super Bowls, the team to score first is 6-1. So you can get plus 195 for the Niners, first to score and win. And then first to score and win for the Chiefs is plus 220. I don't know that. I don't know that. I can try to look that up for you.
I was wondering if it was the Patriots.
Yeah, I don't know. But teams that score first win 68% of the time.
It's a good number.
68% of the time, it works every time.
Not too bad.
I think I'm going to go with the Gatorade. I'm calling red.
You're going red.
Going red.
See, I was.
It's fair. That's a good call with both these teams being red.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with blue on that one.
Okay.
I feel like blue's the play because red's too close. I've got a last point scored prop, and that is the type of last point scored, whether it is an extra point, touchdown, safety, field goal. And I am going to go with field goal.
Okay.
I'm not going to go with the extra point. The cheapest money is on the extra point because it would be following a touchdown on whatever drive and anybody chasing something. That would probably be it. That is a plus 180 for the extra point. It is a plus 450 on the field goal.
Okay. Now here's one that if you can find a line on this, and you're going to have to go offshore for it. But this is a good one. The last team to score, we went over first team to score is 6-1. The last team to score in the Super Bowl has won 13 straight.
Pays the close.
Pays the close. 13 straight. So if you can find last to score, you're going to have to go offshore for it. But last team to score, if you can find that, get your money on that one. That's a good one. And you know what is odd is that you right now, like the Taylor Swift, I can't really find anything on how long she'll be on TV for, because they've had that before. Remember when it was the Harbaugh? It was how many seconds will Jim and John Harbaugh's parents be on the screen? Yep. Or you get like the how many times will they be mentioned in the broadcast? I've not been able to find the Taylor Swift, which tells me that somebody knows that there's an edict down from CBS on we're either going to avoid or we're going to lean into Taylor Swift being on here. And I'm tending to believe with the numbers that we've seen,
those ones can be manipulated a ton, which is why you would probably see stuff starting to come off the board for that. Because it's informational. You can dictate it.
Something tells me that that data that we just got an email saying that 41% of people 18 to 34 in their household are watching because of Taylor Swift's involvement with the Super Bowl. They're more interested in the game. Something tells me the NFL, to the chagrin of people out there, they will be mentioning Taylor Swift, and they're going to continue to show her as they have, which, folks, it's not a lot.
No,
it's not a lot. And I bet you when they do show her, I bet they're going to show her more than you think, either before, during, and after the Usher concert during halftime, because that's usually
when they're going to be there.
That's usually the time that also the hardcore football fans, they take their break, and the people that are in for the ancillary stuff will show it.
Yes, 100%. My last one here, total points or longest field goal, meaning the yardage of the longest field goal being more or less than the total points. I'm going to take the total points. I don't think we're going to get any 50-yarders, and I'm taking over 47.5.
Wow.
So go ahead.
That's a good one. That's a long field goal, but you're indoors. You don't have to worry about any elements being an issue whatsoever in this, except for the stupid field, which will probably be an issue.
That and both these teams have solid kickers. Neither of these kickers are guys that go out there and hammer 55-yarders endlessly. So I think you're probably looking at the 50-yard field goal as being the most. And I think that you're probably looking 46-48 is where you're comfortable. And the line being at 47.5, I'm taking the over, thinking this is going to be a 50-51 point game. I'm going to go ahead and take the total score.
All right. We mentioned how do you get to 32? We have had 32 in a Super Bowl. Super Bowl 38, the Patriots beat the Carolina Panthers 32-29.
There you go.
They got a touchdown. They got a touchdown from Deion Branch with an extra point. David Givens with the touchdown and an extra point. Then they went 4 touchdowns with extra points and a 41-yard field goal. And I'm trying to see where they got the other. Oh, they had a 2-point conversion. After Mike Vrabel's 1-yard touchdown pass from Brady, they had a 2-point conversion to make it 29-22 to go up by 7, and they got tacked on a field goal at the end, a 41-yarder. But in that game, guess what else they had? On a scoregami game, they had a 50-yard field goal in it. There's a 50-yard field goal by John Casey.
You got to have something a little bit spicy.
There you go.
All right, coming up next, we will put a nice little bow on the NBA trade deadline. The Portland Trailblazers have announced that General Manager Joe Cronin will speak at 5 o'clock this afternoon. I will be down there to cover that here in a couple of hours. But ahead of that, we will put a nice little bow on the NBA trade deadline. But first, here's the Big Kahuna Sports Center update.
I hear they got some tasty burgers.
It's a Super Week edition of Danny and Dusty.
Brought to you by George McCoy at Warren Allen, attorneys at law.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, the Trailblazers begin a 7-game homestand tonight, hosting the league worst Pistons. DeAndre Ayton, Scoot Henderson, both questionable. Jeremy Grant and Jabari Walker are probable. 7 o'clock tip on Root Sports. The Blazers are 7.5-point favorites. Just ahead of the trade deadline, the Blazers making a minor trade, sending a top 55 protected 2027 second-round pick to the Celtics for 6'8 guard Delano Banton. The Pacers sending Buddy Hield to the 76ers for Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, and 3 second-round picks. The Spurs trading Doug McDermott to the Pacers for Marcus Morris, who's on the move again, a second-rounder and cash. The Jazz sending Kelly Olynyk and Ochai Agbaji to the Raptors for Otto Porter Jr., Kira Lewis, and a first-round pick. The Hornets sending Gordon Hayward to the Thunder for Trey Mann, Davis Bertans, Vasilije Micic, and 2 second-round picks. The Pistons trading Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks to the Knicks for Quentin Grimes, Malachi Flynn, Evan Fournier, Ryan Arcidiacono, and 2 second-round picks. And the 76ers trading Patrick Beverley to the Bucks for campaign and a second-round pick. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Russ at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager on all the pro football playoff action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
One number does it all for contests and texting your favorite fan shows. The Vancouver Ford text line is 503-864-6FAN.
You mad?
The NBA trade deadline has come and gone. The Portland Trailblazers did make a transaction, but it was more in line with what the rest of the league has done around this NBA trade deadline. While there was a lot of actual technical transactions, there was really only, outside of the earlier moves around OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, there was really only one move that was like, hey, there's a team giving up actual capital for a player they think can help them, and that was the Dallas Mavericks sending Seth Curry, Grant Williams, and a first-round pick to the Charlotte Hornets for PJ Washington.
This was the trade deadline of like former Blazer players being traded. Ryan Arcidiacono, Kevin Knox, you had Rolo getting traded, and then Seth Curry. There's 4 right there. 4 former Blazer greats all dealt. I think that tells you a little bit about the trade deadline at the margins. And what the Blazers had was a lot of guys
for a long
on the
time.
margins. I'm glad that the Blazers gave a heavily protected second-round pick.
Which means it is a top 55 protected second-round pick, which means unless the Blazers are a top 5 team in the league in that season, that pick will not convey. Which means is very, 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 very likely they did a transaction using a fake pick.
Well, and that's kind of what the Bucks did with Rolo to the Kings because it was for future considerations. They acquired Robin Lopez and are going to release him.
Yes.
And make him a free agent. The best thing Rolo did all season was get the ball out of the backboard here in Portland.
Grabbed that broom away from Jeremy Grant and said, I got this, JG.
And I guess he started the very next game, but they lost. It is one thing. I know that people are frustrated. Like the Blazers aren't making the moves that Joe Cronin told us they were going to be aggressive. That was to surround Damian Lillard.
That was a year ago.
Competitive team.
That was not this year. This is entirely different.
One thing that I am glad that they're not doing anymore, though, is making moves and trying to sell us that it is something that is actually going to help build the future of the team. And I hope that tonight when Joe Cronin meets with the media at 5:00, we don't get the, hey, we're hyping this guy up. He's going to be a real role. He's going to be a real player for us. And no, you made a move to get to 14. You made a move that was on the fringes like everybody else did. Don't try to sell us that it's anything else because it truly isn't. This is a guy who's played like 7 minutes a game.
Not only that, he's got a team option next year for $2.2 million, so it allows them more roster flexibility going forward. And this is financially prudent. It is roster building prudency.
Wouldn't be prudent.
For all of the things that I railed against Neil Olshey for, this is something that the Blazers are being more actively concerned with. The Detroit Pistons, who they are playing tonight, were not. They have added 8 new players to the roster in 3 weeks.
I don't know who's going to be playing in this game for Detroit, period. Well, hell, we don't even know who's going to play for Portland because Scoot is questionable.
Scoot is questionable. DA is questionable. Jeremy Grant is probable. Malcolm Brogdon no longer on the injury report.
Hey!
Jabari Walker is also probable. But, when I get there tonight, I'm just basically going to go talk to some guys. Be like, hey, anybody not dead?
Dead or alive?
We good? Who's going tonight?
But you mentioned they traded 4 guys Detroit did in the last 24 hours.
Mm-hmm. And released 2. Joe Harris and Killian Hayes have been said, your services are no longer required.
Oh, did they bring him out here, though? So, I mean, Joe Harris, you don't have to go far to get to Wenatchee.
It's true. He could just go up there.
I doubt he lives in Wenatchee anymore.
Yeah.
It's the closest he's going to get to Wenatchee.
I thought it was, what's the, starts with a C. Chelan?
Lake Chelan is Wenatchee.
Is it the same thing? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
My Washington geography, not great.
Yeah, it's okay. Nobody is with Central Washington anyway.
I kind of go into a fog on that drive. Are we to Olympia yet? Tacoma? No? Okay.
No, you don't even go past there. They're more east.
Well, no, but the exit. But I'm saying the exit for it.
Way east. Yeah. Like it's way out there.
You just kind of drive.
Well, you want to hit the I-82 or something, right? Probably.
Yeah, you want to go 84. You're going to head up through.
You're going through like the Tri-Cities?
Yakima.
Yeah, again,
Tri-Cities.
Another drive that I just kind of zone out on. That's
beautiful area though. Beautiful.
Great
area.
Watermelons. Great melons.
We'll do what? Pasco, Kennewick, and what's the third in the Tri?
That's naming Washington cities.
What's the third one in the Tri-Cities?
I don't know the Washington side one.
I don't know.
Pasco, Kennewick, and hell.
There you go. It's the duo cities now.
Yeah. There you go.
It is what it is. But as far as the trade deadline goes, it has come and gone. Didn't expect the Blazers to do much. And they didn't.
No.
And you did not see players of value moved for lesser value.
Richland, Washington is it.
There you go.
There we go.
No, you didn't. And for the Blazers, we didn't expect much. We didn't get much.
You didn't get a DeJounte Murray moved. You didn't get Bruce Brown, who was in Toronto. You didn't see him move. You didn't see any of that tier of guy moved because of what was on offer and what's expected to happen this summer.
I mean, the one team that did prime themselves to make a move, though, is Dallas. Dallas with Daniel Gafford and going out and getting him. But they
got Gafford and PJ Washington reinforced their front court.
They're in that those moves are good.
Yeah,
I think those are solid moves.
I think those are solid moves. But other than that, you saw a lot of deck chairs being rearranged and financial implications beyond
for the
that,
new CBA next offseason.
Yep, coming in this summer.
Or the Blazers better make moves.
There you go. Yeah. All right, coming up, we'll put a nice little bow on the show before we hand you off to Isaac Asup Kamir on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. right, we only have a few minutes here, but I just wanted to highlight this. The next class for the NFL Hall of Fame, Dusty, is absolutely ridiculous. We're going to get the announcement of up to 5 of those will be announced here tonight at 6 o'clock from a list of Eric Allen, Jared Allen, Willie Anderson, Jari Evans, Dwight Freeney, Antonio Gates, Rodney Harrison, Devin Hester, Torrey Holt, Andre Johnson, Julius Peppers, Fred Taylor, Reggie Wayne, Patrick Willis, and Darren Woodson.
Oh my God.
Pick 5.
From that list?
Pick 5.
Boy, well, I think that Jared Allen, I think Dwight Freeney, Antonio Gates, Devin Hester should. Devin Hester damn well should. Andre Johnson, Julius Pepper, Reggie Wayne, Patrick Willis. I'm at 8.
Yeah.
I think of that, though, I'll go Reggie Wayne, Andre Johnson, Jared Allen, Dwight Freeney.
That's 5.
No, that's 4. And then my 5th is, oh, God. It's either Rodney Harrison
over Peppers or Gates?
Or Julius Peppers. No, it's Julius Peppers. It's Julius Peppers.
So I've got Peppers and Gates as my absolutes with Andre Johnson.
Golly.
Jared Allen. And it's between